or earlier?
Well, these ruins here are dated based on my current belief and putting together pieces of the elements and the pieces of the puzzle together to about 285, 300,000 years ago. Then that gets confirmed with my channeling and the psychics that have confirmed some of it. And then that little rock over there that I showed you with a patina on it, and the tools and the carved artifacts that we find where the patina has regrown beautifully, that suggests these things are not young. These things have been around for a long, long time.
So, but you're saying the Bantu people came when?
Well, nobody really knows.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That really is an open-ended question. At this stage, it looks like they only arrived here about 300 years ago, 400 years ago.
I mean, that's a very short time in the span of what we're talking about, and then these ruins that have been virtually ignored by the South African government. Isn't that
Exactly.
true?
So you see, because they don't know about the full true history, they ascribe all this to the Bantu people, and that's just not possible. There just weren't enough people to build 10 million ruins. It's just like not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with a large number of people that lived here for extended periods of time. Let's just look at the agricultural terraces, right? You've seen a lot of it from the air, and already you're overwhelmed and blown away by the vastness of it. Mm-hmm. Right now, you're not going to build so many terraces if you're feeding 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. You're going to be building this many terraces if you're feeding millions of people.
Right.
So you've got to use logic in these things, and sometimes logic is the last thing that our historians and our archaeologists apply in these puzzles.
Okay, so but to get back to contributionism, because it's really bizarre how these two things seem to be interacting with each other, and I can't even imagine where this is all going. You know what I mean? In other words, we're really headed into the unknown, not only with these stone ruins that have not been discovered except by you and Johann Heiner and maybe a few other people who have been aware of them, let's assume, because how could they be here for all this time and never be talked about? And yet, where's it all going? I mean, if you wanted to wrap this whole thing up that we've been doing, and the overall landscape that we've covered, what would you say to all of that?
I think it's heading into the age of enlightenment and consciousness without a shadow of doubt. As we're sitting here, our DNA is being enlightened. We are able to think more clearly, and obviously this is a huge wave sweeping the world. Consciousness is exploding around the world. I believe that the flow of energy, the different vibrational frequencies that activate our DNA and our pineal gland are directly responsible for that. I believe these ruins have a very important role to play with it or in it. And I believe that there's only one way out. And 5 years ago I reached that conclusion, and I believe contributionism is it. Anything other than, or anything that continues on the track of capitalism or the use of money or any barter or trade or kind of exchange system, it cannot work. You've got to have a system where people, and a social structure where people do what they're passionate about and what they choose to contribute to the society, what they're good at. When they wake up in the morning, they do it with a smile on their face, and they're only too happy to do that. And you find that with people, when they get into a job by choice or by accident, mostly by accident, when people get into a life where they love what they do, they're the happy ones. The ones that have a job, they're the unhappy ones.
Sure.
And that's just the rule of this planet at the moment. So it's leading towards contributionism, where people contribute. And you can't force a rocket scientist to grow vegetables. So all these, I know about the Venus Project and all these other things that are going on there. And when I looked at all those projects, I find fundamental structural problems with them. And, God bless them that they're doing it, but I believe that we need to I want them to have a look at what I'm talking about here, because you can't force people to move into little secluded communities and then let everybody plant a little vegetable garden in their backyard. No, that's the wrong model. Okay, because rocket scientists don't know, and they don't like to plant vegetables. They want to build rockets, right? And shoemakers don't want to plant vegetables. They want to make shoes and design sport shoes, and you know, and civil engineers want to design beautiful cities and things, and you know, and so it goes, you know, and that's how it's got to be.
Okay. And in the end, it seems that it's all about the use of energy, and it's also our relationship to energy that we have to change, where these ruins become something of a jumping off point, I think, mentally and in terms of consciousness, because if your mind can begin to wrap around the notion of these amazing ruins and how these stones got here, then you're talking about the use of energy in ways that we've never dreamed.
So, as you said, we don't even understand the use or how to use sound energy and sound frequency. We only really come to terms with it. I guess it may be some of the Black Ops projects, and those guys have gone a long way ahead and they really get it, but it hasn't filtered through to the masses, and it's up to people like us to make the mainstream of the global population realize that it's there for us to use. We're sitting in it. We know that these things are alive. In fact, the guy that just phoned me now was the guy that measured all the energy in here that interrupted us. I mean, our thing was actually interesting. We were talking about the sound frequency and the sound energy, and Andries phones me to interrupt our interview.
Okay, wonderful. Well, maybe you should take the call, you know. But at any rate, Michael Tellinger, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me as your guest. You've been a wonderful host. I said you were responsible for everything but the weather. I have to say one other thing that I didn't see any lions, but you know, I felt their energy. But I thank you for this experience, and you know, I will always treasure it, and I think it's really something that a lot of people would love to experience.
Well, thank you very much, Kerry. I am honored that you graced us with your presence, that you took the time and raised the money from your funders and your donors. So thank you for all those people that contributed towards Kerry being able to come here and have a look at what we've got here and the origins of humankind and these new areas that we're just starting to peel the surface away of this ancient knowledge and technology. And one of these days we're going to convert one of these ruins into an inexhaustible source of energy. We're this far away from it. I am absolutely sure of that.